sure I'm not the only one who buys things for armies they don't field. Let's have a look at my latest purchase. So this is the Battlefront plastic box set for the M26 Pershing. So it contains 3 tanks. Let's have a bit of a look inside. Okay, so we get a decal sheet. Don't know if you can see that there, a decal sheet, and some commanders, some commander figures. Now there are 3 of these sprues. If you have a look at those, these are the, they've got the hull and the turret bottom here, and the guns, gun mantlets, that sort of thing. You'll see there's 2 50 cals there, and there's also the 2 gun barrels, the very long one for the Super Pershing and the standard 90mm gun for the straight M26. So there's 3 of these sprues here in the kit, and the other set of sprues is there's 3 of these. Now this is the 2 different turret tops, the Super Pershing turret top with the turret basket at the back, and the standard M26 Pershing turret. There's some side skirts here, and there's some detailed tracks. Now these are quite detailed, but reasonably simple as one-piece tracks. So there's a certain amount of tread detail that you can see in here. And this is what you get to make a Pershing with. As I said, you get both options here. So you get to make the Super Pershing, if you want to, with the long gun and the extra armour on the front, or you can do the standard M26 Pershing. And again, there's the sprue shots. So the detail on this kit shows that Battlefront plastics have come a long way since their open-fire Sherman disaster. I'm looking forward to putting it together, and then I'll give you a bit of a look. So while I'm building one, let's look at the Pershing. Here is some US Army training vision of a T-26E3, the designation of the prototype vehicles that would go on to become standardized as the M26 Pershing. Western Allied tank technology and tactics had always lagged behind Germany, but at the end of the war, tanks like the late war Comet and post-war Centurion for the British and the M26 Pershing for the Americans were becoming available. These designs benefited from the lessons learned about armoured warfare during the war, and addressed most of the technical shortcomings of previous tanks, laying the foundations for modern tank design. The M26 Pershing design was the basis for the later M47, M48 and M60 series of tanks. These were the mainstay of the American tank forces until the introduction of the M1 Abrams in the 1980s. The Pershing was initially classed as a heavy tank, but post-war was reclassified as a medium tank. It was armed with a long 90mm gun, which gave it similar performance to the 88mm gun on the Tiger I, but was still short of the performance of the more powerful 88mm armament of the King Tiger. A prototype Pershing called a Super Pershing was fitted with a longer T-15E1 90mm gun in an effort to match the King Tiger, but it never went beyond the prototype stage. The Pershing really came too late to see significant action in the Second World War, although some saw action during the Battle for Remagen and in the last days of fighting across Germany. It is one of a number of Allied tank designs just coming into service which took advantage of the lessons learned about armoured warfare and the role of the tank during the conflict. The Pershing is more famous for the role it played in the Korean War in the 1950s. So if you want to field a Pershing list, there are only a few options in Flames of War. The main options are the 3rd and 9th Armoured Divisions. Here are some of those lists on Forces of War. This is a tank company for 3rd Armoured Division, and one of the options is a heavy tank platoon equipped with Pershings. The 9th Armoured Division list is similar. So check out the force options on Forces of War, or look at the Bridget Remagen Forces book. So here is the assembled Battlefront Pershing. I've built this one as a standard Pershing, not the Super Pershing, and I haven't included the side skirts to show the suspension detail. Detail is sharp and this model looks great. I imagine it will look pretty impressive painted and on the table. There are no instructions, not even an exploded view on the back of the box, but assembly was pretty straightforward. As I said earlier, Battlefront's recent plastic kits are very good. However, there are still a few areas that indicate they're new to plastic kits. For example, there are no locating lugs on the turret halves, and you need to be careful to make sure the top and bottom halves mate up properly and don't leave a seam. Sprue attachment points are very fine, but some are awkwardly placed. There is one right under the shell ejection port on the upper turret piece, which makes trimming here difficult. But these are very minor issues. When you buy this box set, you end up with 3 very detailed heavy tanks to help your American forces in the last days of the war in Europe. Highly recommended.